1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, road ragers of all ages. It is I, the SKF Effect, Steven. I am joined today via telephone for this Bound for Glory prediction video. My first guest on the line is none other than BT Invasion himself. Check out his YouTube channel, Invasion. He streams some games. He's crazy. He is crazy indeed. Say hi to Brett.
Hey guys, thanks for having me once again on the show. It's always a lot of fun.
Alright, and then probably the best hype man in the business, and probably the only reason Brett has so many followers. The Red Standard himself, Caesar.
It is great to be back here with you, Steven. It's great to be chatting some Impact Wrestling. We got a big pay-per-view coming up this week, and we are here back at it again with another prediction videos. I'm so excited.
See, look at that. I'm already hyped for this, and I can't even watch Impact anymore because, you know, Xfinity screwed up my Pop TV. Thanks, Xfinity. So, Caesar doesn't like making predictions of matches that aren't listed, but I do. And I feel like Allie is still looking for some payback on the undead bride herself, Su Yung. And I think something might happen in that match. I think it's going to happen, and I think something special might happen. Maybe a demon. Maybe a demon might rise up some.
Probably.
Return from the dead.
I think that's pretty much what this rivalry has pretty much been waiting upon, because I feel like there's been a holding pattern to this feud, because of course Rosemary has been legitimately injured and she hasn't been on Impact because of the injury. And I feel this feud's been dragging on and just waiting for her to return. And I'm not sure if they're going to do this match at Bound for Glory, but I do sense that Rosemary is going to be coming back soon, probably on these New York tapings. So I would definitely, expect Demon Bunny to be reunited soon.
Yay, Demon Bunny!
Yeah, I definitely agree. This rivalry has definitely, been waiting for Rosemary's return. And I think after the whole Kiera Hogan being in the coffin incident, it's just felt like it's really just been set up for Rosemary.
Impact, how dare you bury the girl on fire?
Right?
That's not cool. That's not cool at all, guys.
But I think it's inevitable, obviously, this rivalry. People have been talking about it since the moment Sue showed up because of the history between the two. And I think once that happens and once that takes place, we'll have a really, really good rivalry on our hands for the Knockouts division.
Indeed. All right. Next up, again, we have to kind of play a little guessing game here. It's a tag team match of Matt Seidel and the recently debuted / kind of sort of re-debut of Ethan Page versus Rich Swann and a mystery tag team partner. So,
Jericho. It's Jericho. It's gonna be Jericho.
Look at, all right, Jericho likes showing up randomly at places, yes, but normally in higher profile spots.
Well, I mean, we're just throwing out predictions here, mystery. I mean,
Juventud Guerrero recently put out a tweet that he's going to show up at Impact, and based on some X Division talent in this match, I think the mystery partner could end up being Juventud.
That would be a weird pairing, a weird way to introduce him.
But Jericho's fine being the tag team partner of Rich Swann.
I just do that just to be ridiculous. But, I mean, I don't know if they're going to announce the partner on Impact this week. They didn't really announce this match on the tapings in Mexico. So this is probably either going to be announced backstage this week, or they're just going to leave it up to a mystery partner, for a big pop maybe. Who knows? Maybe it could even be Abyss. I mean, there's a connection with Ethan Page there. So,
the cousins.
It could be Abyss.
It could be Abyss. Mr. Impact Wrestling 2018 Hall of Fame, Abyss.
That's right.
I think it could, I don't know, it's kind of a weird match thinking about it, and if you look, at Rich Swann, he's pretty new to Impact overall, so he doesn't have a bunch of connections like some of these other wrestlers on the roster.
I look at the card, and it's a really strong card, but a lot of it is just kind of weird and kind of thrown together.
Yeah, we have two matches on here that are continuing on from the prior pay-per-view, and we also have like a title match that really just came together all of a sudden.
Right.
We have as well, the same as the Knockouts Championship as well.
But let's rewind. Let's not lose track. Is I'm gonna call the winner of that tag team match Rich Swann and whoever his partner is gonna be. Because Swanee really hasn't gotten a really big win since showing up on Impact.
I think it's tough too. I mean, obviously it's tough when you don't know who his tag partner is, and if you look at Rich Swann's history, a lot of his tag partners are currently in WWE, like Johnny Gargano and Roderick Strong, people he's won tag team titles with in the past on the Indies. But I feel like Rich Swann does need a win. I do agree with that, but I also think if you're going to debut Ethan Page and treat him as this new character, this new figure on Impact, and then to start off right away with a loss, I think he could recover in a way. So I'm kind of indecisive, and like every time I think about this match, but I probably will go with Rich Swann and whoever his opponent is.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it'll be Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho, if anything, is going to come later on in the card, and I think he's probably going to dress up as somebody or undercover like he has been for New Japan and other promotions.
Because Jericho, you sly, sneaky bastard, you. I see you with the Pentagon paint. Alright. Let's move up to the next match. Which, as we said, it's kind of one of those matches. It's probably one that's going to be really awesome, but it just seemed kind of like it was randomly tossed in there. It is the Knockouts Championship match. Tessa Blanchard versus Taya Mundo Morrison Nitro Valkyrie.
Taya!
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you're just still bitter over Tessa beating Allie. That's why you're going Taya.
No, the reason why I'm saying Taya here is I think there's really a feel-good story behind the whole fact that her and Johnny obviously just got married. They're posting it on different articles all over the internet now. How, like, you know, Johnny's in a big profile match, Taya's in a big profile match, and they both could walk out of the biggest pay-per-view of the year for their company.
They're going to walk out
champions.
as Mr. and Mrs. Impact.
But the thing that I really like about this match overall is that if you look at the Knockouts division history, we've had a lot of figures like the Beautiful People and just that whole character. Now we have Scarlett. We have just a bunch of characters like that. And then I feel like Tessa and Taya are kind of, in a way, a new breed in the sense that they're powerful and they have a powerful moveset. It's pretty different from, you know, you can't really compare them to, let's say, like Awesome Kong or somebody like that.
No.
But
they bring the power game.
They bring the power game, but they do it in a different way, in a different style. Right. And I think that's what I really like about both of them, and I think they're similar in that sense. And even the way they carry themselves, Taya and Tessa, the one thing that nobody can argue with, whether you like them or you don't like them, they know how to sell themselves. Whether it be their entrances, whether it be in-ring with their moveset, whether it be promos, they know how to sell a match. They know how to sell themselves as a big star. For Taya, I think she definitely deserves it. I think she has a lot of potential to carry the Knockouts division on her shoulders for a while, and I just think they can go in many different directions with their character, and I think she's definitely has the ability to do it and the star potential to do it. So,
all right, BT
Team
picks
Taya.
BT picks Taya. Caesar?
Yeah, I have to agree with Invasion here, or Brett. I don't know what name you're using, but yeah, I do think these two kind of definitely bring different style to the Knockouts division. I do like the pairing for these two. I just think, like Steven said earlier, I mean, this one was kind of like hastily put together just a couple weeks ago, and Taya not appearing on TV kind of hurts the momentum of this match. But I do think this match is definitely going to deliver. It's going to probably be a great match, and I do expect Tessa to continue holding on to the title.
It's definitely going to be one of those matches that I feel like if they're given the time and they're allowed to do what they probably can do, it could be one of the ones that, you know, it's a lot better than what we could expect it to be.
Well, so far we have 6 matches announced, and this is probably going to have his Hall of Fame segment, so, I mean, probably will get, like, probably 10 minutes and probably could be pretty solid. And
I gotta say, I can see Taya getting the belt somewhere down the road. I don't think
But
it's
not
going to
now.
be this one. I think Tessa's going to get one more big win before she ends up dropping the belt.
Maybe even against Rosemary.
True enough. Once she's done with Sue. Let's go to this one that's continuing on from, actually has story going by it, but still kind of weird for the two involved. It's Eddie Edwards versus Moose.
Ugh.
Moose recently turning on his friends and joining Austin Aries on the heel side of things.
Ugh.
And is Eddie still crazy?
Eddie is still crazy. And
Crazy Eddie.
apparently, if you look at Moose's wardrobe, he's probably crazy as well.
Okay, yeah. Moose is.
I do not, listen, guys. I'm going to speak here because I got to rant on this for a second. Moose is like, I think Moose is a great wrestler. I think in the ring he's pretty good. But this heel character, I think, probably was kind of needed to refreshen him up after Slammiversary. But I think pairing him with Aries and Killer Cross, it just does not fit. Because, Moose is, you have Aries who comes out all dressed in black. You've got that sinister, smug look on him. You have Killer Cross, who looks like he's going to kill you any second he wants. And then you have this guy over here with a pink upside-down visor, a shirt that looks like he just got off a live-action Splatoon, and those dazzled shoes. It just does not fit. And I know he's probably all in the heel character, but I just think Moose just looks ridiculous and he does not fit.
Ladies and gentlemen, fashion tips from the Red Standard.
It's basically a comparison here. It's basically he's pretty much like Batista. If you remember that match where Batista came out in all blue and you had Randy and Triple H in all black, that's pretty much what Moose is.
Hey,
Moose
he wanted to
is
stand
Batista.
out, man. He wanted to stand out.
But I just don't think it fits with what Aries and Killer Cross are doing.
True enough. He doesn't have that hitman look going to him.
I just had to rant that out. So let's talk about the
And
match.
I know you two are hardcore Eddie fans, so I'm going to guess it's probably going to be Eddie all around.
Well, giving my unbiased opinion and prediction, I do think Moose is going to have to win this one because, he just made the heel turn. But I do think that this will continue on beyond Bound for Glory. Probably something one of those No, listen. Hey, Eddie's my dog. He's my
Eddie,
dude. He's my guy.
Eddie, if you're seeing this, Caesar just picked Moose to beat you.
I already picked Moose. Did you not just hear me rant about this guy's shirts and stuff?
After mocking Moose's clothing attire, he's picking Moose to beat you, Eddie. I want you to remember this. I want you to hear this if you actually do.
I'm not rooting for Moose. I'm just predicting that's what's going to happen. And then maybe later on, he'll probably have a fight in the woods where he's going to probably beat him there.
Where they'll get lost out in the woods like Eddie and Lashley were?
I was thinking Callahan. Or that one.
Before I comment about this, though,
Uh-oh.
are we allowed to cuss on here or not?
Sure, why not?
I gotta make sure.
Why not? It's road rage. You curse during road rage.
Alright. So, Caesar just said, about Moose and everything, which I agree, the whole outfit thing has been ridiculous, and it's been a really weird pairing. But how is anybody gonna root for Moose? Alright, wait, hold on. If you talk about Mr. Impact Wrestling, you think that person is probably the Impact World Champion, or the face of the company, whether they decide that's the X Division Champion or the Impact World Champion. But the way things have played out recently in terms of booking, I would say that's the World Championship.
Yes.
So therefore, Mr. Impact Wrestling would be Austin Aries. So how the hell am I supposed to root for Moose, or even predict that Moose is going to win, when he's been hyping himself up as Mr. Impact Wrestling, and now he's Mr. Impact Wrestling's bitch at the moment.
Oh
my God!
So
This is
I have to go with
scenario.
I have to go with Eddie.
I'm not saying that I'm not rooting for Eddie. Of course I'm rooting for Eddie.
No,
Eddie's my
even-
dog.
Or is
He's my
he?
dude.
Even prediction-wise, Moose has lowered himself. He's
I
went
know.
from Mr. Impact Wrestling, putting it all over his jacket,
This is
hyping
funny.
himself up with these
This is
awesome
funny.
entrances, and now he doesn't even know how to dress himself.
I agree with you. But just thinking,
Wow.
just like legitimately, I do think that Moose, because they just turned him, that they want to keep that faction strong. Whether, Aries wins or not, I do think they're going to keep Moose strong, and then they probably will do another match later on that Eddie will
Moose
probably
strong.
win.
Does anybody have Don Callis' email so we could email him before he books officially?
I mean, I'm sure you can probably find it somewhere. Anyway, I have to go. I'm going with Eddie. I think he needs to be able to push further along in a feud more so than I think Moose does right now.
Oh, there's also a chance that they could do like a DQ finish.
See, he's
as
trying
well,
to
so that
he's trying to defend his prediction pick right now. That's what it is, Eddie. Me and Brett got you, Eddie. We got you.
Got you.
Oh God.
All right. Next
Moose
up.
sucks. That's the base of the story.
Next up, Ohio versus everything. Dave Christ, Jake Christ, and Sammy Callahan versus Lucha Underground's best, Brian Cage, Phoenix, and Pentagon Jr. / Dark / he has other slashes to his name. But either way, Pentagon. There you go. And before we go anything, Team Lucha. All the way. Team Lucha. Sorry, Sammy. Sorry, Havoc, but Team Lucha.
I actually think this one is going to be a stellar match. It's going to be spectacular. You're going to get all the stunts, all the high-flying stuff. I do think this one's going to probably steal the show. In terms of prediction, I think something that really needs to happen is Brian Cage needs to turn heel. And I think probably OVE wins this match, and it's basically coming off of like miscommunication between Cage and the Lucha Bros, which kind of spins him off into a feud with them. With Brian Cage as a heel. Because I think Brian Cage, the value in him is pretty much continuing what you did with Lashley and just making this guy the dominant heel that we want to see get beaten finally.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, is Brian Cage still the current X Division champion?
Yes.
Okay.
So I just think, like, when that one X Division guy finally beats Cage, you have, like, this big star that, like much like Eddie did when he beat Lashley, you have, like, this big shocking moment that nobody saw coming.
Gosh,
so,
remember? Hold on, let's have a little throwback, flashback memory here. Remember when Eddie beat Lashley for the World Championship, and we were all so happy and thrilled, except for one person?
that was actually on this day. Well, not today, but yesterday. I actually posted about it.
Hi, Diane.
It happened 2 years ago, recently. But yeah, I do think the value of Cage is just mimicking what you did with Lashley, just making him a heel. And I think the match that Cage and Phoenix had a couple weeks ago was a great match. I love that match so much. Those two really worked well with each other, and I think spinning those two off into a feud with Brian Cage as the heel, I think is probably the way to go. And I think it's probably going to start during that match at Bound for Glory with some miscommunication.
It could. It could.
I definitely think this match is going to be, something that's talked about after the pay-per-view. Assuming that every match gets the proper time it needs, I think this is one of those matches that could potentially steal the show. There's one or two others on the card that I definitely think could also steal the show, of course, depending on time. But, I don't know, this is such a tough one because I feel like, Sammy, he's been at the forefront for a lot of this, the Impact brand this year.
Sammy, he's the draw. No matter if it's here or anyplace else, Sammy Callahan's the draw right now.
And I think when OVE are together and they're with Sammy as a trio, I think the other two shine as well when they work with him. I think they produce some of their best work with Sammy in the ring. So I think a win for them could help out, the Price brothers as well. But
True enough.
But then the other part of me is like, Cage has been killing it this year ever since he debuted. Phoenix and Pentagon, they've been a huge, just improvement for the brand, and they've put on some great matches, some great openers, and just some great angles with Sammy. So it's tough to pick, but I'm probably gonna go with Team Lucha here, because the other thing that I think about too is it has to be tough for Cage as X Division champion. He's not in an X Division match. He's not defending the title, and there's no like X Division #1 contender match or anything like that, which I was hoping they were going to do with Seidel and Rich Swann, but they went in a different direction, which is fine. But I think Cage really needs that win here because as a champion, I think he's going to need a boost from this pay-per-view, and to take a loss, I could see them going into a feud maybe, but I just think they could all use a win.
All right, fair enough. All right, and I don't think this is actually for the tag team titles, which is kind of bizarre, but I guess it's because it's a trios match. It's LAX, Santana, Ortiz, and Conan versus the OGs. Not to be confused with Wrestling Road Rage's, former network champion, the real OG. These are just the OGs of Hernandez, Homicide, and Eddie Kingston, just calling himself King right now.
It's funny you mention that because I was actually on the Impact website recently, and they actually have King on the Impact roster, and they have Kingston on the alumni, as if they were two different people. I didn't get that at all.
Well, it's Impact's roster page. They never have been one to actually be, on top of taking care of their roster page. They've been better recently. They've been better, but...
Yeah.
Alright.
I think they've made improvements in that concept, but with the match, I think LAX produces some of the best work on television for Impact this entire year. Anytime you... Sorry.
No, I was going to say, you two know more for this right now. The only thing I know for this is the OGs, spray painted the tag team titles, and then they ran a segment where they hit a kid with a car.
Richie!
Rest in peace, Richie.
Because...
He's not dead. He's alive.
Because why not hit kids with cars? That's been the only, lately I have seen more people praise Impact on social media than I have in years, with the exception of that promo. With that segment, that one got trashed for about a week, and then it got forgotten about.
Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about that one because it's one of the things with Impact is they utilize a lot of out-of-the-ring segments, but sometimes they kind of blur.
I wonder why they like using these out-of-the-arena, out-of-the-ring segments.
Well, I think that I think they are a huge advancement for storylines. That one street fight they did in Toronto with LAX and the OGs. There was the fight in the woods with Eddie and Callahan. I do think they can be used to enhance the storylines, but sometimes there's kind of a blur reality between it's just presented as a legitimate competition, but then you have Su Yung basically murdering everybody on the roster, and then it's we can't really decide what to take seriously and what not to take seriously.
Yeah, Rosemary has to get a whole new meat suit because of that.
Yeah, going with that comment about advancing storylines, I think two of the biggest things in wrestling, other than obviously the wrestling itself, is emotions and style, and I think that's something that LAX completely, they just perfect in every segment that they do, whether it be a promo, whether it be a match, whether it be one of these, out of arena segments. They definitely, make you believe in them. They make you feel that they are pissed off or they are, determined or whatever it may be, depending on the situation. But they also always tend to bring their style with it, and it's completely different. It's completely unique. It's not generic. It doesn't feel like, the stereotypical storyline whenever they're implemented in the show. And I think that's a testament to both Ortiz and Santana's ability to sell a match, sell a storyline, sell a rivalry, a segment, anything that they're involved in. So I definitely am rooting for them in this match because I like Homicide a lot. I definitely have a lot of appreciation for what he's done in Impact's history. and even Hernandez in the beginning years. But I just think they don't do it as well as the new breed of LAX, and that's not a shot at them. That's not an insult to them. I just think that Santana and Ortiz, if you're going to put them on the biggest pay-per-view of the year against these guys, I think they're able to do more with the win and take it to the next level and definitely hype up their characters and just keep it going.
See, and that's where I was going to say. I could see this kind of being where the OGs get a win just because the tag team titles aren't on the line. But to what you just said, this is your biggest pay-per-view of the year. Are you really going to have your on-fire tag team champs lose on the biggest pay-per-view of the year? Albeit it's non-title, but still, I mean, then they could have Conan take the pin, and then it doesn't really negatively affect Santana and Ortiz any.
Right.
So,
I just think this is going to probably be like, it's continuing on from Slammiversary. I think, well, first of all, the promos between Conan and Kingston have been on fire. These two together have great chemistry together. The promos have been great. That one promo where Kingston burned Conan's mask, I thought was done tremendously well. And those two really work well together. And I'm definitely interested to see how Conan does in this match, just because he did have one match this year in that same building, no less, and it wasn't that much, but definitely Conan is very limited. So it's going to be interesting to see what Conan brings. But I do think this is going to be LAX's big win, and then they're going to move on to the next team.
all right. And so then our main event, the final match. The Impact World Championship. Austin Aries defends against Johnny 20 Names Impact.
Johnny 205, probably.
Do. So, alright.
Yeah,
Aries has had the
match.
belt since how long?
Well,
He lost it to Pentagon, but then he got it back within a few weeks, and technically just like 2 days, taping-wise.
he's basically been champion for much of the year, basically.
Right.
Except for that 1 month where Pentagon won it.
Ever since, which in real time was only like 2 days.
Yeah.
So
This match, I think it's interesting, mostly because of the outcome.
which
And I'll tell
hold
you
on.
why.
Before we get to the outcome, help me take a trip on memory lane. Last year's Bound for Glory saw then champion Eli Drake defend against Johnny Impact,
That's right.
which the match was then tossed out and screwed up because some patron showed up and screwed up everything.
Well, Eli got the win
And
because
then-
of...
So he did. All right, so there was a pinfall there.
Yeah. But it was a screwy finish,
Alright.
no less.
And then we fast forward. Eli loses to Aries, and pretty much Aries has dominated since.
Yeah.
Impact, this is really his first chance at the title since last year's BFG.
Well, they had a cage match, I believe, earlier this year with Eli and Patron. That was like January, I believe. But pretty much, it's been a while since he had a title match.
All right.
That's because he was, of course, on Survivor, and he also got married, went on his honeymoon and whatnot. So he's pretty much been absent for a good portion of the summer.
Busy last few months for Johnny.
Yeah.
And
it's
don't
kind
blame
of weird because, when he came back, he was continuing that feud with Congo Kong, but they never really had a match. The last time we saw those two together was when Johnny pushed him into the pool on the summer break party.
Wait, what?
So, and that, you don't remember this?
Dude, again, I don't have Pop. I can't watch.
So Johnny's on like a summer break party,
Right.
like, by the pool, and then all of a sudden Congo just comes running at him, and then like Johnny just pushes him into the pool.
Never
That was
forget.
that's the last we saw of basically Johnny drowned Congo. That's the last we ever saw of him.
Well, now. Poor
And
Congo.
then, and then like 2 weeks later, Johnny just comes out. Yep, I'm getting a title match at Bound for Glory. How? I had to sign the contract, and that was our title match announcement.
Because, hey, who needs the number one contendership match?
I mean, my name's named after the promotion, so I mean, I have to get a title match at the big pay-per-view.
All right. Well, with everything said, I'm picking Impact to finally get the win.
Invasion? Who do you?
Yeah, I definitely agree that Johnny Impact, prediction-wise, I think he'll get the win here, and I hope he does. Because if you look back, when Aries won the title and then lost it to Pentagon, they switched to Pentagon for the buzz of it, and because they knew it would get wrestling fans talking.
And it was an awesome buzz.
And I think Impact has a tendency to pull a trigger anytime they see an opportunity like that in terms of buzz, or whether it's going to get people talking, or if somebody has a platform behind them, or a reputable...
Are you saying that Impact might do stuff, even if it seems bizarre, just so people start talking?
I just mean...
I would have never guessed.
I mean, Pentagon, obviously his character is out there, his look is... It's just... Everything about Pentagon pulled people in, and that's why they pulled the trigger, because they knew it would create buzz, and it did.
Yes.
But then it fell flat because of the way they handled it. I feel like they have an opportunity here, once again, to do something similar, but in a different way, in the sense that, Johnny, if you're a wrestling fan, you know of his history, you know what he can do, you know what he's capable of. But then, in addition to that, now he's on Survivor. So, you have that extra platform with Johnny now, if you have him as
He's
champion.
an extra celebrity.
Right. So, if you take advantage of that, but also handle it correctly, unlike the Pentagon title reign, I think it could pay off for Impact. But I also feel like Johnny's one of those people that he hasn't come right from WWE. He hasn't just dropped in yesterday and now he's champion. So I think that's also something that's going to pull loyal Impact fans in that are watching every single week, or that are in tune with the product. I
cannot picture if Johnny actually wins the belt that they're going to have him drop it within a day of taping.
Right.
If you do, I'd be really disappointed as a kind of wish I could view again viewer.
Right.
As a streamer. I could stream it if I wanted to, but it's not live. And then it's fun to spoilers, so bleh. Alright, so...
Okay, so for my prediction, I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Uh-oh.
I think I could see Johnny winning the title. I could see him winning just because I don't know... Because you gotta have to look to the future as well. Who can Aries feud with in the future? And Johnny winning, it kind of opens up some new opportunities, especially for one Eli, who's been dropping open challenges. I mean, who knows if he's going to do an open challenge this Sunday? But
poor Eli.
I did.
There you go. That's where Jericho would show up. If Eli Drake does an open challenge, that's where Jericho would show up.
Okay. You jumped the gun, but I could see Aries winning this one, because a couple weeks ago on Impact, Aries had a promo where he said that after he beats Johnny, he'll prove that he is, quote, the best in the world at what he does, which is, of course, a quote that Jericho uses. So, I could see Aries winning the match, and then after the match, they're going to attack Johnny, and then Jericho comes out, and that's going to set up a future program with them. That's going to be my prediction right there. I think Aries is going to win, and then it's going to be Jericho coming out. That's my prediction. I went out on a limb, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, I can see it. The only thing is, other than the fact that Jericho got the New Japan Intercontinental Championship, he hasn't really been going to these places to chase after belts. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of see it being the opposite, is after Impact wins, they're all going to beat down Impact. Eddie will come out to make the save, but the numbers will still be against them. And then lights will go off, and there's Jericho.
Or maybe, actually, because I just remembered this, on the, I'm probably thinking too much into this, but on Impact, Johnny said, Aries, if you want to prove you're the best, make sure that, there's no interference. And then Aries said, okay, I will make sure that, Moose and Killer Cross, just them specifically, he didn't say, there's not going to be any interference at all. So what if, if they brought in Jericho as a heel along with Aries? I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's a feud with Johnny.
Ew.
Well. But I think, if Jericho's coming in, he'll probably come in as a face. But I'm just saying that option could be there.
So, Jericho getting involved somewhere along the show. Anything could happen at Bound for Glory.
And you also just said, I do think Jericho, I'm probably just getting too excited, but, I could definitely see Jericho being there, whether it be Eli's Open Challenge or in the main event. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see because, the man's been popping up anywhere and everywhere. Just today, he was in Japan.
Jericho.
So,
the man of a million places.
Yeah, I think, there's so many different scenarios if you're going to use Jericho. There's so many ways you could put him in this pay-per-view and start using him with Impact. But I kind of agree with both of you. I could see that a little bit, but I just, I don't know, because, I feel like Aries is going to come up a little bit short. But I also think that Chris Jericho is going to, I don't think Chris Jericho, like you said, Steven, that he doesn't really go after titles, and I don't think Chris Jericho necessarily needs to be in the main event. I think you can use Chris Jericho, you can implement him in a feud with, Sami Callihan or
and see, that's where I could see him and Aries kind of having a feud going on. If Jericho is going to be showing up, not just for, if it's a one-time appearance, Eli Drake, boom. If Jericho's actually going to set up for a bigger story, I see him and Aries in a feud over who is truly the best in the world at what they do storyline, which does not really require a world title to be on the line.
But do you guys think that I don't even know if I see him in the main event picture necessarily, because if you think about it,
I think you have
started, a part of me
I think that's the value of Jericho. I think
part of me
Jericho
sees that, but I don't know. I just think if you put Chris Jericho in Impact does so many different things that, you're obviously you get a different product from WWE, you get a different product from New Japan, but these out-of-the-box segments, I think Impact has used a lot to boost a lot of different characters, LAX and Sami Callihan.
Hold on. What if to hype the Cruise of Jericho matches, what if Jericho shows up with the Young Bucks to screw LAX?
I don't think that's going to happen.
But it could.
I don't think it will, though.
But it could.
They've mentioned, Josh mentions it, but, he mentions so many things that it's just, with the Young Bucks, he does name drop them. But, in the same respect, Don Callis for a while there could not go a week without saying Kenny Omega.
So,
I don't know.
It's already signed for the Cruise of Jericho, LAX versus the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
It's free hype.
That would be great hype. That would be definitely a great segment and definitely an awesome way to reintroduce, the Young Bucks, I guess, to the Impact brand. But, especially everybody has been talking about, LAX and the Young Bucks, and anytime you mention, what tag teams do you like to see in Impact? Of course, the Young Bucks are brought up, but the one match that's always brought up is the one that's happening after Jericho Cruise, so that would be good. But, my thing is, I get what you guys are saying about, he has to be in the main event, Chris Jericho, that's the value of his name, all of that stuff. But my thing is, my stance on it is, I could see him just as well entering a feud with Pentagon or Sammy for Impact, because I think if you put Chris Jericho on the product, right away, obviously, that's going to attract so many people. And then with Johnny and Aries, that's a pretty good feud right there. They're pretty reputable wrestlers. They definitely know how to put on a match. But with Jericho and Sammy, if you think about Sammy, when he first started getting buzz, he wasn't necessarily in the main event right away.
Nope.
But through his character and over-the-top nature, he became the most talked about thing regardless of where you put him on the show. And then he ended up being all over the show. So I think they could do something like that with Chris Jericho and Sammy, or Chris Jericho and Penta. There's history there between both.
All right.
So I just think
that Jericho coming in, he'll probably get the same deal that Cody did when he first came in, where he's not going to be under contract or he's going to be with the company for long. He'll just come in once in a while and and have some, just matches with some guys and programs with a couple of guys, not necessarily anything long term.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's cut this here before it goes any longer. Thank you, Brett, for joining. Thank you, Caesar, for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Stephen.
Guys,
Thank you, Stephen,
be
for
sure
having us.
be sure to check out Invasion's YouTube channel. Be sure to like. Be sure to share. Be sure to subscribe to both.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait
I'm
a
taking-
minute. You have me
I'm
here,
taking-
and you're trying to steal my lines here. Make sure, guys, you go over to Invasion's channel. Make sure that you guys like his streams. Make sure that you sub to his channel. Make sure that you hit that bell icon to be notified every time that Invasion starts streaming. Make sure you join his Discord site, and be generous enough to leave a donation to the Feed Invasion Wendy's Nuggets Fund. And also, I'm not going to just leave it
His
there.
Wendy's
Guys,
Nuggets
make sure-
Fund. Yes, that's exactly what he just said. Drop a donation for his Wendy's Nuggets Fund.
And make sure that you guys like this video that you're watching. Make sure that you sub to the Wrestling Road Rage. We are uploading this on Wrestling Road Rage, right?
Yes.
Make sure that you sub to Wrestling Road Rage, and also make sure you hit that bell icon to be notified every single time that Wrestling Road Rage uploads a video. Because I don't think you do streaming on this one. if I'm
I
correct.
will be. We will be streaming stuff soon. Very soon.
Ah, okay. So you do want to hit that bell icon to be notified every single time
Yes,
that
you do.
Wrestling Road Rage starts a stream.
You really do. All right. That's it, folks. Thank you to my guests. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to Sunday, the 14th, Impact Wrestling, Bound for Glory, Fight Network, pay-per-view, stream, however you have to do, whatever you have to do to catch it, watch it.
Fight TV.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.